Welcome to the Books and Martinis podcast.
I'm Priya.
And I'm Mercy.
And this is your go-to book podcast,
where we lift, empower, and spotlight authors.
Grab your martini and follow along.
And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to our podcast. I'm Priya.
And I'm Mercy. Welcome, everybody, and welcome most of all to the one and only that we have been waiting for forever, Ruby Dixon. Welcome,
Ruby Dixon.
Welcome.
Cheers.
Yes, with her shake. I love it. With her shake, like just be unique. I love it.
Salud.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you for
welcome.
having
We're
me.
so happy to have you. So happy.
So happy. You guys, on the screen and in your ears is the Spur Queen herself, Ruby Dixon. Applause.
Baptize her with it. Yay. Oh my God.
We are
This
so
is so
excited to
exciting.
have you here. So excited.
Thank
We're huge fans of yours. We know lots of people who have read your books. And there's so many things that we could say. But let's kick it off because you are still a mystery. And I love that you're still a mystery. I want to hear more about who Ruby Dixon is. Why don't you tell us, our listeners, a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm really boring. I have some cats, and I have a husband, and I work from home, so I don't get out much. And
Sounds pretty perfect.
Yes, it's
Perfect.
awesome.
I like staying home.
I always feel bad because, authors are filling out like bios or whatever. My bio is like, she's a Sagittarius because that's all I've got.
I saw that on Wikipedia. I looked it up on
I don't have a
Wikipedia.
degree. I don't have like a fascinating career history. I am literally boring AF. And
No, you're not.
I'm going to disagree with you
Oh,
because I
Lord.
don't think you'd have a fan base if you were that boring. I
Exactly.
think deep down of Ruby, there's like this huge volcano of like explosions
a
of
very
like
active
this.
imagination, but it's like you feel a little weird when some people are like, yeah, she has 3 degrees in biochemistry and she once, climbed Mount Everest. And I'm like, oh,
I don't
I
think you need
I
to do all
visited a
that.
cave in Arkansas once. Like that's all I've got, so I just write.
I
Oh,
love. Well, we love
it-
that you do.
your brain is magical, if that means anything.
Yes, yes. Your imagination is like literally out of this world.
Yes,
So
yes.
super
See what you
excited.
did there.
Oh, you saw that, huh?
So
So tell us where your journey. Sorry, Priya.
no, see,
Where
we're
did
talking
your
over each other
journey
again.
start?
Go ahead.
Well, I've been writing for a very long time. I always think that my journey started when I was a kid. Um, I I loved reading when I've always loved reading. And I think I was diagnosed with scoliosis at age 5. And that is very, very young. So I had to wear a body brace at all times. And so everybody else is doing like pee-wee football and pee-wee cheerleading. And I would sit on the sidelines with a book in my lap while my siblings did that and my parents took us everywhere. So I had always loved reading and I just fell deeper and deeper into books. And I noticed that one day I was cleaning out a closet and I found some old typewriter pages. And I went to my mom and I was like, what was this? She's like, oh, I tried to write a book once and I didn't finish it. And it was like 70 pages with the typewriter, which
Whoa.
to me was really hard because,
Yes.
it's not the
Yes.
easiest item to use. And so that was the first time I was like, oh, books come from people. And that kind of like threw me for a loop.
Clicked.
And I remember thinking that. And so years later, I was stuck in a boring job and I was thinking like, I hated my job and I was like, but I was stuck there because it paid well. And I was like, what do I do with my life? I either need to go to college, go back to college. I think I had like 3 college hours because I did like community college for a semester before, fooling around and doing nothing for gap years, in your 20s, because you don't know what you want to do. And
Exactly.
and I was like, well, maybe I'll go back and get a degree in like accounting or something like that. And I was trying to figure out how many nights at night school it would take for me to do because I would need to keep my day job. And I was like, oh, wow, like 6 years of night school or something ridiculous. And I had just watched a movie on TV and it had a terrible ending. And I was like, Well, no, I could probably write a book. Maybe I could write a book, and that's what I could do. And
With a
so,
better ending.
yes, with a better ending. I could write a better ending than that. And so I tried to write a book, and it took me like 2 years to write the first one. And I was like, oh, I did it. This was a terrible book. Let's put it aside and write something else. And
How
so I
old were
wrote
you then?
another, ah, 25-ish, maybe 26,
Okay.
27.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I kept writing, and I kept putting manuscripts in the trunk, as we say, because I didn't like the way they turned out or didn't turn out right. Still struggling with like the craft itself. And I want to say it took me like 3 or 4 years and like 6 or 7 manuscripts before I got an agent. And I got an agent, and then it took like another 3 or 4 years to sell a book. And then I was trad for a while, and under a different name.
Okay.
And I did okay with that, but I got kind of burnt out. And Amazon unveiled Kindle Unlimited. And I was like, oh, I love the idea of having like a Netflix for books.
Mhm.
And I had some trad books, and I was like, well, I'll come up with a new name for this. That way, if you see the name Ruby Dixon, which I pulled out of a hat,
So
I was
wait,
like,
it's not your real name?
it is not. It is
Oh,
not even close to it.
wow.
So, yeah, I think it came up because I was talking with friends. We were all going to do Kindle Unlimited, and my friend was like, I'm going to be Ella Good because Ella Good is hella good. I was like, that's great. I'm going to be Ruby Dixon 'cause Ruby Dixon from from the Fifth Element, where Ruby Rod was in there. I
Yeah.
was like, I love that. So we were just, riffing, and a friend of mine was like, I'm gonna be Katie Wild because Katie is wild. So it was just silly names. And
Okay.
and I know, and now I'm Ruby
I
Dixon.
love that.
So I came up with that, and I was like, I'm gonna write for Kindle Unlimited. And so if you see Ruby Dixon, you know it's Kindle Unlimited. And it felt like really freeing because you could write whatever you want. And it was literally just about the books. Like you didn't
Mm.
have to be like, oh, hi, I'm Ruby Dixon. I'm a, Sagittarius. I like long walks on the beach. And it was
Right.
just, you could just make it about writing. It was like, this is what I'm working on. This is what just came out. Please enjoy. And for the longest time, that's all that it was. And then I started out
Which
writing.
was your which was your first Ruby Dixon book?
It was called Off Limits, and it was about bikers.
Okay.
Oh,
And
I have never seen that
okay.
anywhere.
It was short. We were going to initially do, me and some friends, we were going to do novellas for Kindle Unlimited. And it was going to
Okay.
be, I would write a novella and it would release one week. And we were working in advance. When I say we were releasing one a week, we were working months in advance. And so I would release a novella one week, and then Ella Good would release a novella the next week. And then
Oh my
Katie
good.
Wild would release a novella the next week. And then it would go
Love it.
back to me. This was so much work. We did not keep up with it. But that was the initial idea. And we were all going to do bikers. And so we were like, well, maybe they all know each other. They all live in the same biker world. And mine was menage bikers, like you do. And
Okay.
so they were in a tag team sort of gang where like they would be two guys and one girl. And so it was called Off Limits. And I hit a wall pretty fast with bikers. I think we did this for like a year, and then I was like, I've got nothing else. I don't have anything else in the tank.
I
Fast
like that.
forward.
I've got nothing.
Yeah, and I kind of wrote myself into a hole, so to speak, with bikers because my whole shtick was like it was male, female, male, and I was like, they've done everything at this point. You can't bring
Hmm.
anything new to the story.
Yep.
So, I sat back, and I was kind of burnt out with what I was working on for New York too. And I was like, I just need to write something crazy and off the walls for me. And I went through like a pile of old manuscripts and ideas that I had, and I found the initial like gist of I had for Ice Planet Barbarians. And I pulled that one out and I worked on it, and it did very well for a while, like in its own little corner of the world. And then in the pandemic, things just kind of went nuclear. Oh my God, that's a George W. Bush thing.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Yes.
So that's when I devoured your books.
Yes.
I'm one
Yes.
of those people.
Everybody found them in the pandemic. They'd already been around for like 5 years. But
Wow.
yeah, that was the pandemic. Somebody made a video about how she just really enjoyed that series. And I had nothing to do with it, did not know her from anything. And
That was your
that,
tipping point. That was it.
yes, that was the craziest moment.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
Yep. And so my best friend, Suzanne, she told me about your books. And that whole summer, it was like book after book after book. Like it was my Ruby Dixon summer.
yes, yes.
I devoured the whole series, Ice Home also, and I did some of the other ones. And I actually just finished the one with the Minotaurs,
Yes.
yeah, with
By the
Gwenna
horn.
and the
Yes.
horns, by the
Yes.
horns. I just finished that one. So it was just, and it inspired like a whole world for me. And that's actually, so
Oh, thank you.
like I said before, I'm a big fan, but you've had way more influence like in that. Like it's inspired me to write and to like, I love sci-fi and
Oh,
fantasy already. So it was much bigger than that for me. But like your books were just, it was so much fun. It was an
yes.
escape.
It's
And
like
I think that's what people reading your books probably get out of
it
it. They get to
has to be
escape, they get
fun.
off the planet.
Yes, I do not like a book where you just cry the whole time and you close it and you're like,
Mm.
well, that
Right.
was miserable. Yes.
Right.
I do not like closing a book and thinking like there goes 3 days I'll never get back. I want to have a good time. I don't want to necessarily learn something. I just want to escape for a few hours and have fun. Like there's
Love that.
TV shows that you watch that because you want to feel like intelligent or whatever. And then there's things like Archer and Rick and Morty that you watch just because it's ridiculous and fun and you want to
Ridiculous.
laugh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I feel like I'm in the latter category. Like,
In
you know,
all the books that you've written, which has been your favorite?
that is difficult because there are some books where it's just so much fun to write that you just can't get to the keyboard fast enough. And for me, that one was a standalone in the science fiction universe called Bad Guy, where he was
Oh.
like a gladiator splice, where he was like a kind of bunch of different aliens like spliced together.
Hmm.
And he was almost feral. And she was the human slave that they had cleaning his quarters. And he gets obsessed with her. And she's like, whatever, I don't want anything to do with him. And so he has to kind of like try and pull her in somehow while they're both in captivity necessarily. And I just
Hmm.
loved writing that one. But I
Really?
think that my favorite when like I see it pop up at a signing and I'm like, oh, it's my book. It might be it's either Bull Moon Rising or it's Bound to the Battle God, which is a self-published fantasy portal fantasy that I did.
Hmm.
So
I've read all of them.
Ah. Oh, wow. How many books have you written total?
Uh, I don't know. Somebody on another podcast I did, she said it was like 163. And I was
Oh, I
like,
believe it. Yeah.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
not all full novels. A lot of them are just
Mm.
novellas, like 20,000 words. Sometimes a story is just a shorter story and it's just
Hmm.
a huge
Absolutely.
boosh of a story.
Yeah.
And some are longer. So
Hmm.
to me, I'm like, whatever the story needs to be. Some ideas just come out as like, no, this is just a couple of chapters and then I'm happy with it. I got it out of my head. And then some I'm like, oh, this is going to take some time.
Hmm.
So, and then that one sits in the bigger file of like, this is gonna take like at least 500 pages to figure out. So,
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
So
wow.
what inspired the Ice Home series? Let's start there with that series because I feel like that's like everybody's intro into the Rubyverse.
Yes.
Um, what inspired the blue
I
aliens,
like
the
that Rubyverse.
characters? And you have like a diverse group of characters, everybody from, someone being disabled to,
Yeah.
all different ethnicities. Like what inspired it?
I actually I started with just the initial pod people, I guess. And then I was like, it'll be great if I can get like the first 6 books down because I was like, if nobody likes book 1, then like we'll just call it a day. We'll pack up our toys and call it a day. But everybody liked it. And so I kept writing. So then I was like, okay, well, if I get to Josie's book, which is book 6, then I'll be happy. And then I got to Josie's book and I was like, well, maybe I'll go in and do some other people. So then I did like some of the tribes people. And if I get to Farley's book, then that'll be great. And then I got to Farley's book and I was like, oh my God, everybody still wants more. I don't have any more people here. So Farley's book also kind of forced me to think of the bigger alien universe, like where did they come from? And so I started to build out on that and it was a lot of fun. And so I was like, let's drop some more people here. This makes sense in the environment that I built. And as I did keep going through, I was getting people that were messaging me saying like, oh, I loved that, you wrote Tiffany's book because she was a Black girl and nobody ever included Black girls in this. And I was like, oh, I was
And she
very
had the
into that.
dragon god, I think. She had the dragon guy, the fiery guy, right?
That was the second series, Ice Home.
Oh, Ice Home.
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
That's
Getting
okay.
my verses mixed up.
I'm so hurt you don't have it all completely memorized. No.
Jeez, Priya.
Get it right, Priya. No, and I would have people write me, and I wrote Lila's story because she's the one with hearing loss, where she would wear cochlear implants, and they were taken from her. And I initially came up with her idea because I was like, oh man, it would be so difficult to have no hearing on a primitive planet. How do you handle that? And I kind of was like, let's see what happens. And I got so many people saying positive things about a character with hearing loss. And I was actually just going through getting hearing aids myself.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Oh, look at that. Okay.
so I was like, I had always struggled with some hearing, but it's been much worse as I've gotten older. And so I thought, well, I've done a character with hearing loss. I've done a couple of characters that are more diverse. And every time everybody's like, thank you for including somebody that looks like me in the story. Maddie is a plus size character. And I was like, well, I can
love
write that.
Maddie. I love Maddie
Yes.
and Penny. I think Penny was plus size
Yes,
too. Like
Penny is
both
plus
of
size
them.
too.
I love
Yeah.
both of them.
And so I started to branch out a bit more. And so I was able to say, okay, this time when I include people, I'm going to include like Debbie, who is Indian, or Ariana has anxiety. And I was like, I was able to pull in a couple of different things that I wanted to see play out. And I did not always do things correctly. A lot of it's been a learning experience. And I remember when I came out with Callie's book, and Callie was Mexican American. And somebody was like, you know what? You said she's part Cuban, part Mexican, and you got all of this wrong. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, what did I do wrong? She was like, well, let me tell you all these things that you got wrong. And I really appreciated that because she cared enough to say, hey,
Right.
I realize you were trying, but you did this wrong. And so ever since that point on, I have gotten oh God, feedback readers where I'm like, hey, I need somebody that is, lesbian, or I need somebody that is,
You need a Puerto Rican, you let me know.
yes. Okay, I will. Yeah.
Well, you already did Indian. I mean, whatever.
Yes.
Or she needs a Puerto Rican because Bad Bunny's gonna be, I'm just throwing it out there.
Filipina,
just let me know.
A Filipina heroine. If I have a Black character, I actually I reach out to Black readers. I'm like, hey, tell me what I screw up here. And sometimes the feedback is harsh because you don't know what you don't know. It's something that sits okay with me. It's not necessarily sitting okay with somebody else, but it's been really educating, and I appreciate it. I feel like I've learned.
How brave of you.
Yeah,
It's so brave of you to step out of the box, because a lot of people would be afraid to do what you do.
Yeah.
But you get out there and you do it. So you should be really proud of yourself.
It's just, I feel like it's safer to do it in an alien story environment because they're not on Earth. They don't have the same set of issues, but at the same time, I feel like it makes it a little bit more palatable for readers that wouldn't normally read a Black heroine to be like, oh, well, everybody's in space. I can read about heroine. That being said, readers still do not necessarily follow over to stories of people in color. Like I can tell exactly which books are going to sell better than others
Really?
based off of
Yeah.
who's in the story. And I still write it because fuck all that. I don't,
Good
Yep.
for you.
Yep.
I don't, and it's not me. I don't want it to be like, oh, you know, you're a white savior. Let me save you. But let me make a difference. It's that it should not matter to the story. It doesn't matter to me, but it matters to some readers that they get to see themselves. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
if you don't like it, then that book's not for you.
Mhm.
And
Right.
that's fine. But I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. So and I feel like if more people do that, then we can all normalize it. And then it's not going to matter what anybody looks like. Because I've had people ask me to write like very, very specific things. And I'm like, okay, let's not go crazy here. Let's be, you know, um, and it's like obviously like, oh, you know, what if she is, you know, from Thailand, but she only has one leg, and you know, and I'm like all kinds of very specific things, and she only likes to eat, you know, ramen noodles when the sun goes up, and it's like, oh, is this you? Is this you, friend? You know, so it gets a little tricky sometimes, but I do like to try things, and I feel like, you know,
That is
it's the
awesome.
right
Well,
sort of milieu for it because it's a universal sort of like I've taken you all off Earth
Yeah.
and we can go from there. And it's like the playing field is level, I guess,
right.
more than
If
anything
you
else.
hadn't, then look at all the people that would have missed out on so many great stories.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you know, and it's like, and I'm not saying I do it well, but it's there and I'm trying. So
And they're fun. So if you go in with the
yeah,
mentality like to
yeah.
absorb a lot of serious, to think that it's going to be
It's
serious,
the
it's
right
not.
place. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've actually referred the first book to a couple folks, and they're in the part, of course, in the beginning of the first book where they're trapped on the
Yes.
planet in the container, and they're, you know, the girls are waiting for Georgie to come back, and they're like, "Oh, I couldn't read past that because it was so scary." And I'm like, "Oh, come on, come
It's
Don't
on."
super
spoil
fluffy
it.
after
Don't
that.
spoil it.
Yeah. The first book, I've heard people say like, oh, the first book is like really like dire things happen. And then everything
Yeah.
else is just like rainbows and kittens. And I was like, yeah, you know.
Just you gotta get past that.
But that's how like
That's the hump.
it's a good like sci-fi hook. Like, you know, that's this
Yeah.
would this ever happen? Like if we were all captured and dumped onto a planet, would this happen? You know,
Right.
and thankfully some big gorgeous blue aliens with ribbed everything showed up and saved the
I was
day.
like, if we're
So
swinging
what
for the
happened if it
fences, let's give
happens
them
and then
everything.
there's no hot aliens? Where are we gonna find Ruby? Like
Well,
you lied.
there weren't hot
Ruby, what
aliens in these
happened?
books either. There were different aliens.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Imagine.
write that one. So because it has to be a good story at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, you have the
Yeah.
power to make it good, right? Why not?
Yes.
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 Absolutely. What does writing look like for you? When you go in your zone and you are writing, what does that look like?
It
Are
is
you
constantly changing.
okay?
I like to write every day because it helps me stay in the story, but sometimes I'm working on 5 different books at once, and sometimes I am working on just one because it's like chewing up all of my brain and I can't focus on other things. Um, I prefer to sit down at the computer and just like stream of consciousness write. That being said, I feel like lately it hasn't been as easy because I'm constantly like picking up my phone and looking at the news and you know just it's harder to get in the zone. So I'm trying to train myself to get back to writing more words a day.
Mhm.
And so I might start up like I started a serial story during the pandemic because I was like everything was so terrible online. I wanted something that would make me happy to open the computer. And so for me, it was posting an original story, a lot like fanfic, where like you post a chapter and then you see what everybody says and then you write another chapter or whatever. And so I was doing that during the pandemic, and that was how I wrote one of the really long Riziver stories called When She Purrs. And the first like cat alien, and then everybody loved it, so I wrote another one, and then I wrote another one, and I haven't written a serial like in 2 years, but I feel like I need good things on the internet again. So I'm probably going to start that up again and I would use that as like, I'll write like 1,000 words. And by the time I get that 1,000 words done, it's about a chapter. I would feel warmed up enough to work on the meat and potatoes writing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say, sorry, Priya, well, I'm like
Okay.
into her writing. When you say a good day writing, what does a good day writing look like to you? How many words did you do that day that you're going to walk away and shut that laptop and say, okay, I did good today?
4 to 5,000 words.
Wow.
Jesus.
But this is,
Wow.
and
Wow.
I say that, let me preface this by saying I've been writing for like 20 years. And so you can work up to, you learn what works for you and you can work up to being faster. But this is also my day job and I don't
Mm.
have kids. So if
Yeah.
and this is also like work is also hobby.
Right.
So if I sit and pick at something like off and on all day for like 14 hours, then,
Mm.
I have more time in the day than necessarily other people.
Yeah.
So that 5K or whatever, I haven't written 5K in a while, but that's my ideal day.
That
So,
would be a great day.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know
Great
that
day.
there we have other authors that say, what we had Ron Felber, one of our
Mhm.
first authors. He wrote the book on the true story of The Exorcist. So his books are
Okay.
phenomenal.
Mm.
And they're all based on true stories that are kind of gory or supernatural, but they actually happen and there's documentation of them and all this stuff. Anyhow, he would tell us that his day would start, he had to wake up like at 4:30 and at 5 be in front of the computer because that's when he was the most creative. If he didn't do it before he went to work, it just didn't work for him the rest of the day. Do you
Yeah.
find that you have a time of the day where it works better for you or?
I do find that if I get started early, then I tend to be more productive because if I'm putting it off, like, oh, I'm going to start working after, XYZ, after I have a doctor's appointment at noon or whatever, then half the day's already gone and you're mentally like, oh, well, I can't get as much done today. So I'm just going to, put it off a bit longer. And then the next thing you know, it's like 7 o'clock at night and you've written like 2 pages. So I do think if you start right away, you do get more done, but that also depends on your Clifton strengths, which is how you work. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. It's
Okay,
really
What
I've
is
big with
never
it?
a
heard
lot
of
of
that.
writers right now. Okay, so it's called Clifton Strengths. And what you do is you take this little test, and they charge you like $50 for the test, which I don't love, but tax write-off. Um, and
Clifton,
and it
Clifton,
tells you Clifton,
what is it called?
Clifton
Uh-huh.
strengths, like,
Okay,
strength.
the strengths.
And
Okay.
it tells you what your personality is like. What are the most dominant parts of your personality and how you
Oh.
can work with those. And there is a really fantastic author coach called Becca Syme,
Mhm.
and her last
Okay.
name is Syme. And she talks all about on her Patreon, which you can join for just like $1 a month, how these strengths work with different people. And so my number
Okay.
one strength is empathy, which means that I'm really good at putting myself into the character's shoes. One of my top 5 strengths is achievement, and another one is consistency. So for me, it's really important to get in there and hit those goals and do that every single day. Whereas some people, consistency might be like one of their last ranked goals. So it's not good for them to try and force themselves to sit in front of the computer every day because they don't
Mhm.
necessarily do their best work like that. So I think that test helps you figure out how your brain works a bit more. And like one of my very last items was woo. And what woo is like how well do you work a room? How good are you at going up to strangers and just starting a conversation? And that was like dead last for me because I'm terrible. But it's also why at signings it takes so much out of me. Like I can, be
You're
at my desk.
drained.
Yes, and I'll do the signing and I'm great. And then I go home and then I'm like, I need a week just to mentally recover from this because I feel like I've used up all of my brain power for the month.
Mm.
So but that helps you kind of figure out why you are the way you are and how you can lean into it. So Clifton Strengths, very highly recommended. I know tons of authors
Excellent.
talk about it and compare, like, this is why I work the way I do. So
Mhm.
Oh,
yeah.
I love that. And writers that are listening to you that are like on cloud nine right now, super inspired. Um, a lot of different authors recommend books that help them at one point. One of the ones that we get
Yes.
as a repeat is Save the Cat.
Save the
A
Cat.
lot of
Uh-huh.
a lot of people
Love
talk
that
about
book.
that. Is there a book that you found was inspiring for you as a writer that you would recommend to other aspiring writers?
So if you just want to read about somebody else that is a writer that did it on their own terms, Stephen King's On Writing is fantastic. However, if you want nuts and bolts, there is a book called 2K to 10K.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
that is an author, and oh my gosh, I forgot her name. I'll have to look it up. It's 2K to 10K.
Okay.
And she talks about how she taught herself to write faster because she was feeling pressured by her publisher, to hit deadlines and to get more books out. And she had so many ideas in her head. She was like, I'm not going to be able to get to all of them. So she talked about her method of speeding up her writing process. And so she was able to go from like 2,000 words a day comfortably up to 10,000 words a day comfortably.
Wow.
Yes. And I have had 10,000 word days.
Well,
It's
you've had
hard.
5,000. That's plenty.
Yes. But it's like you figure out what works for you. And a lot of it's planning ahead and staying in the zone and things like that. But 2K to 10K, I really recommend if you're like, I'm writing too slow, how do I improve this process? And
Mhm.
I think it is a fantastic book.
Love it.
Excellent. Thank
Love
you.
it.
Thank you.
And what has been like a high and low of your
I
whole
was
writing
just going to ask you the
process?
same
Yeah.
thing. What's been, yeah, your highest high as an
I
author?
mean, you've been doing this for a long time. So, I mean, there might be
Yes,
multiple
yes.
things, but like
Um,
anything that stands out, like as a high
there
and as a
are
low.
a couple. One I can't talk about yet. I did hit number one in the entire Kindle Unlimited or Kindle store with Ice Planet Barbarians during the pandemic. And it was there
Yeah.
for like 3 days. And I want to say there were like 10 or 11 other books in the Ice Planet series that were in the top 100 at the same time.
Wow.
So you would
Wow.
go down the list and it's like Ruby, 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 Ruby. And that was the coolest to me because like people were
Yeah.
not only reading the first one, they were going on
We were devouring it.
everything else.
We,
Yes.
Priya was there.
And that was like a crazy moment for me. And it was also terrifying because I was like, they're all going to figure out I'm really not very good at this,
Oh,
and
no. Mm-mm.
That's the
the
imposter syndrome, right? That comes
yes,
in
yes.
Yep.
with
And
so
I have
many.
never felt so on screen, visualized, I guess, because you
And
felt like
validated as a writer,
everybody is
right?
looking at you. And
Mm.
so you felt like, oh, suddenly I'm in front of like, instead of being in front of like 5 or 10 people in an audience, I felt like the audience like was suddenly like 50,000 people. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it was
Wow.
terrifying to me because I was like, what's going to happen? Is this, how is this? Am I suddenly going to be hit with 1 star reviews and it's going to tank my book or whatever? But reviews don't necessarily tank your book unless it's like you only have 2 and they're both 1 star.
Mhm.
But
Right.
I like to think that like my reviews have really gone downhill the more people that try my book because some people are like, this was not for me at all. And some people are like, well, I had no idea I was going to be into blue aliens. So to me, it's broadening your audience. You're casting a
Right.
wider net. So the lower your score gets, it just means your net has gone to a wider group.
Yeah.
Correct.
And then now your
Correct.
books are also in stores.
Yes,
So
yes.
you could
That was
walk into
another.
Target. Yeah. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
that was another cool moment is seeing a Ruby Dixon book in Target. Bull Moon Rising was my first hardback. It's my first like I want to say, well, no, I think it was in Target, but it was like it was picked by like Indie Next and it hit the New York Times. And so that was just like a really amazing moment. So that was a cool moment too.
What has been a low point for you,
Um,
and how did you get out of it? Like, how did you get yourself out
well,
of that?
my account was canceled by Amazon for like 24 hours once, right after I published Sam's Secret. I think something in the Kindle system flagged it as like a copyright or a trademark error because they just shut down my whole account on a Sunday afternoon. And they're like, sorry, your account's been terminated. And I was like, oh my God, what the hell do I
Did
do
your
now?
heart drop? Oh my
Yes.
God.
And so I was like, well, I haven't done anything. I haven't tried to skate around their rules. This has to be a
Right.
mistake. And that's
Right.
me just hoping for the best.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, we're not going to panic. We'll call somebody on Monday and we're going to get this figured out. And
Did you sleep that night?
no. But the interesting thing that happened is I went online and I was like, hey guys, I don't know what's going on, but my whole account got pulled down. I'm hoping, we'll get things figured out. So many people went on social media and started tagging Amazon, and they were like, Amazon, Ruby Dixon is the reason why I have Kindle Unlimited. You need to fix this.
Good.
And
Wow.
that
Yeah,
was like,
cheerleaders.
yes, like so
Oh,
many people had my back. And that was
there's a
just like,
high.
yes, so it wasn't really anything I did other than like, be victimized by Amazon, but it was
Right.
just like a really cool moment of seeing like, even if things shit the bed with Amazon, I've still
Right.
got fans, I've still got people, that want to hear my stories. And that was a really awesome moment for me.
Yeah. And it's those shitty times that sometimes elevate you even higher,
Yeah.
right? Because had that not happened, maybe you wouldn't have realized how many people really did have Kindle Unlimited because of you.
Yes.
Yep.
So
Yes.
yeah,
And it
there's
also
always
made
a
me think, okay, I can't put all my eggs in the Kindle basket. And
yes.
so I started to reach out to New York publishers a bit more and be like, okay, let's grow sideways. So even if Ruby Dixon gets killed off of Amazon, can I be in bookstores? Can I be on
She'll
audio?
live on.
Can I be, yes, I want to have multiple streams. I still want to keep Kindle Unlimited because, you dance with the one that brought you. And
Right.
Amazon has been really great to me, but I'm always aware that, I'm playing on their platform.
Exactly.
So, I'm gonna keep my stuff in Kindle Unlimited, but I have an eye on things and like I'm gonna make sure Ruby is okay.
I see things coming.
Yes, yes. And Amazon is looking out for Amazon. So
Yeah.
Of course.
it's
Yeah.
Of
it's
course. That's most businesses do, right?
yes, it's
It is what
corporate
it is.
stuff. If you've ever worked for a big corporation,
Mhm.
the left hand is not talking to the right. There's gonna be seven
Yeah.
meetings,
Right.
smallest things, and yeah.
Yes. And nothing gets done.
Yes, yes. So yeah.
Well,
So
I also
to
want to,
oh, go ahead,
maybe it
Maria.
might be the same question again.
I know.
I wanted to ask you about your fandom. So you've turned into a huge sensation online. There's all this art out there for the
Yes.
characters and some AI videos. And I'm just like, oh my God, it brings the characters to life, the Vectals,
Yeah.
the Georgies, all the characters to life. Um, how does that make you feel to see people creating art
It is
based on
so
your books,
exciting. Yes, I'm
right?
not thrilled about the AI part
Yeah.
because I don't like AI. Let me preface that right away because they stole from a bunch of pictures online and fed them into their machine without permission.
From the
Oh.
And
artist.
so, right. So that's how they trained a lot of the AIs. They took a bunch of pirated books and fed them into the machine and trained
Oh.
it. And it's like,
Were your books part of the list that
oh,
got
yes, every
oh
list.
no.
And so that's the frustrating thing is like you are billion-dollar companies. You can purchase a copy of this book and
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
feed it into your machine, and that is fair use. I can't
Yes.
do anything about that because it's a product. It's out there.
Yeah.
But you stealing all this stuff and then training your billion-dollar machine on it,
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem with. So I don't like AI as a creator, but I don't like it in general because it's all made on stolen stuff. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I do love seeing original fan art. And it was like the coolest moment to me. I think one of the first ones I ran across was Conky, who has done a lot of work for me. And Conky had done a couple of drawings of the blue aliens. And I was like, this is amazing. Can you do some more for me? And Conky said yes. And so I commissioned them to do some stuff. And then other people would do Ice Planet pieces. And I'd be like, that's awesome. And then I'd DM them, I'm like, can you do me a piece? And the fan art and commissioned art has really turned into a huge part of the book community. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I think it's worked on me. I know one reason I got into ACOTAR was because I kept seeing beautiful art popping up. And I was like, what is this book? You know, it looks very
Right.
princessy and fantasy. And I'm like, tell me more. And so I think it's a fantastic tool. I like seeing people's interpretations, even if it's not 100% what I had in my head. I like seeing their interpretation because it's what they picture when they're reading.
Love it. And so now that, I mean, there's so much. There's so
Right.
many questions
Yeah.
we can ask you. We have to actually wrap
I
up
know.
soon. But
I'd keep
I
you
know
here
I
all
ramble.
day.
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
so
No,
okay,
no.
let's talk
We're
about what's next.
really
So
interesting.
Okay.
you know, I just told you I read By the Horns. I know
Yes.
there's another book that just came out and you have more coming. They're just like nonstop. Tell us
Yes.
about what's coming next for you.
I do enjoy writing. So there's always something in the pipeline. So By the Horns is a hardback that just came
Yes.
out from Berkeley, Penguin Berkeley Ace. It's the Ace line, but they're all Penguin.
Okay.
And it came out in hardback in September. And then also in September, I had a short story with Amazon called Space Vampire. They did a
Yes.
set of 6 Halloween scared sexy stories. And so I was like bumping elbows with Christina Lauren and Allie Hazelwood. And they're like, would you like to do this? And I was like, yes, I would.
Aw.
So that came out and the reception has been great. Everybody has been like super excited to read it. Then in November, I am doing a very short story called When She's Stuffed, which is a Thanksgiving short story.
Your
Um,
titles.
yes, and it comes out
Yeah.
like the week of Thanksgiving, but it's also going to be an audiobook in the Read Me Romance podcast because
Oh,
friends that run that podcast, they do like novellas that you can just listen to for free. And they're
yeah.
romance novellas. And like people do it like, you know, in case people want to, if you like this story, go check out my backlist sort of thing. So I'm doing that. And then 2026 is just going to be lots of self-published stuff. I do have another book coming with Ace, Berkeley Penguin Ace, whatever we're calling it, that will be out. I said early 2027, which sounds far away, but I promise it will be here before we even think about it. And it is going to be a standalone. And I just actually printed out the first draft and I'm
No
going through
way.
it. So and that's one of my author things is I print everything once I've finished writing it
Yeah.
because I can't edit on a screen. I can, but I don't feel like I'm catching everything. Whereas like I format it like a book almost. I put like 2 pages. So like
Oh.
if you know,
Priya does that,
it's like
right?
a book and I shrink
Yeah.
the font
Yeah. Sometimes.
and I change the font and then I read through it and it reads completely different because your brain like has to it doesn't recognize like the font and the words themselves. So it does something different to your brain and you pick up so many small things that you wouldn't normally. So I always tell everybody, print it
That is
out. I
great
know
advice.
people do not do it, and I promise you, you will notice so many things. You're like, this is the worst sentence I've ever written. What is it doing in my book? And you just
Elite.
so much stuff. Yes. Yep.
Okay, that is great. And so aside from that, because that's what I was going to ask you. What's the
Yes.
one piece of advice you'd give a writer?
Okay.
That was
So much
fantastic.
advice.
But bring
That is
it,
a big
bring
one
it.
for
What
me.
advice would you give writers
Well, I definitely would say find what works for you with your particular Clifton
with
strengths,
your
mindset.
strengths? Right.
Yes, if you are a consistency person, write every day, even if it's just 1 page, figure out what keeps you going in your story. I always think of writing a book as like, what do they say? Eating an elephant. How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time?
Right.
You write 100 words a day. At the end of a month, you will have 3,000 words.
Right.
If you write 1,000 words a day, at the end of a month, you will have 30,000 words.
30,000.
As a third of a book, and
Right.
you just take it a little bit at a time and you keep going. You have to finish the first book to, I guess, you get that dopamine rush and realize, oh, I can do it. And there's no moment like that. Like, even like years and years later, I'm still like, oh, that was like one of the best moments of my life because I was like, oh, I can do this. And so
When
I
you
want
published your
everyone to
first book?
have that. No, no, absolutely not. It still lives in a trunk under my bed.
Oh,
Oh, so when will we see that?
We won't. It's going to die in infamy. So
so sad.
after I'm dead, somebody's going to pull it out and sell it online and be like, look at this trash.
There's
No,
no
Stop.
convincing you?
the first 4 or 5 books still had never seen the light of day because it was me figuring things out on the page.
Mhm.
So I would not feel comfortable
Would
seeing
you
them.
ever revisit them?
I Yes and no. Like I still like the concepts. I think I actually tried to rewrite one back in the day, and I took the story idea and plopped it into a different story, and it still didn't work.
Hmm.
So there are bits and pieces that I've stolen for current stories that you pull from it because it's not wasted effort. You learn things. So
Right.
there are different like little bits and pieces that I have taken from old stories and put them into new stories. So the words themselves, not so much, but the concepts, yes.
Okay. So you have a writer listening to you and you
Okay.
want to give them the strongest advice you can give them. What's that one thing you're going to tell them?
Finish the first book. Forward, not fetal. That's what a friend of mine always says.
What does that mean?
That
Forward,
Ooh.
not
means
fetal.
don't curl up in a ball and give up when things get hard.
Mm.
It is going to get hard in the middle. The middle is always the worst. You've got to keep going and push through. If it feels like homework, keep doing it, keep going, finish that first book
Finish the
because
book.
you don't know until you get to the end of that book what it's like to actually write a novel. I know some people, I've gone to writers' meetings where people write the first 3 chapters over and over and over again. Stop that. Don't do it. Slap your
They
hand in
don't
the
leave
fire.
that. Mhm.
No, it's never going to be right the first time you write it down. I have to go back and go over things. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be on the page. That way I
Mhm.
can fix it later. But you can't fix if there's nothing
What you
there.
haven't written. Absolutely.
Yep.
So get it down, make it pretty later. You can take as many drafts as you need to, but you have to get that first draft done.
And what draft do you say, that's it, I'm not going to do this anymore? At what draft? Because I
There's not a
did have a,
specific draft. It's like, do I want to vomit if I look at this book one more time? If the answer is yes, I
that's the
think it's
answer.
ready. So
Yep.
Okay,
if there's
Yep.
still
how
things
to
where
do
I'm
it.
like, oh, I need to fix this, I need to do this, I need to rewrite this scene. If it's still turning in my head, it's not done.
Okay,
If I'm like, oh dear God,
I
I
don't
have
want
to
to see
read
this
that
again.
book again, then it's done, for better or for worse.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Oh, that's a great answer. Yes, I did. I had somebody that had told me the same thing. They said you have to stop at one point because a lot of people will never publish a book or send it to be
Mhm.
published because they keep going back to fix it and fix
Yes.
it. And every single day is going to be a brand new perspective. And every day you're going to feel
Yes.
differently. So today, if you're sad, you're going to want a different ending. And tomorrow you're happy and you're going to change it.
Yes.
So at one point, you just got to let it go. So that
And
was great.
I don't even listen to like my audio because I hear things, I hear sentences I could have rewritten. I hear choices that I made that I'm like, oh, why did I do that? That is just beating yourself up over something
That's
that's already
life.
completed. Yes.
Right.
So let it go. Be like Elsa, let it go.
Let
It
it
belongs to
go.
the universe now.
Well,
I
okay,
love
so
it.
I do have to ask you about the audio. So your
Yes.
actors that you have there, and they have accents. Was that
No
intentional for?
clue. No clue. Nope.
Oh,
Oh,
A lot of the time they do not ask me. They're just like, okay, thanks for the audio. We'll put it up and let you know what happens. There is one team that I work with, Aaron Moon, and I forget the gentleman's name, but I want to say they work on the Ice Home
mhm.
novels. And they're like, okay, can you pronounce this word for me? And I'm like, no, because it is a written word. Use your best judgment. And
oh,
because to me, the audio is very different than the written medium.
Yeah.
So, like a word that looks good on the page, it's not necessarily going to be
it might not
something that
sound
you
right.
pronounce 500 times in a novel when you're reading it out. So I'm like, if you
Yeah.
pronounce it slightly differently, that's totally fine. I'm fine with that. I think there are different pronunciations between Ice Home and Ice Planet And I'm like, that's cool. That's their interpretation. That's great. I don't care. So
Leave it to the imagination of the reader. Yeah.
Yes.
I love how
that.
you're like, nope,
Yeah.
I'm not part of that.
I think
Just
somebody
do it.
said Georgie had an accent at some point. I'm like, that's
Yeah,
great.
she did. She
Anything
had
about
a little
Don't know
country
anything about
accent.
it. Yep.
Good for her.
All from Florida.
And then
So,
all
yeah.
the aliens had like different accents. Well, not they were slightly variated, but different accents. And
Yeah. Nope. They don't ask for feedback at all. I think the only feedback I've ever gotten, or somebody asked me about an accent and they were like, my usual advice is like, if they do ask, I'm like, just make it conversational, because I don't like an audiobook where they talk really slowly. I'm like, no, don't do that.
I
That
can't.
drives me
Mhm.
nuts. So the only advice that I've ever given them was that they asked about on Bull Moon Rising. They were like, should we give Gwenna a Cockney accent because she is the maid, compared to Aspeth, who is the more refined
Refined.
ladylike one? And I was like, absolutely not, because she is going to be the heroine of book 2, and nobody is going to want to listen to 10 hours of oi guvna, found himself a minotaur.
She was perfect.
So,
Gwenna's voice was
yes,
perfect. Yeah.
yes, I was like, don't do that. And other than that, yeah,
And then Raptor's voice was perfect.
I've
Like the guy's
heard
voice
the
makes
narrator.
the book, especially
I
your
have
books.
heard that. So I
Yeah.
will never know for myself,
How
but I have
many
heard.
character names must you have in your brain?
How do you keep track? Oh my
I
God.
don't. No, there is an
A
Ice
lot
Planet
of
Wiki.
characters.
I do look at that and I'm like, have I used this name? Okay. So, but yeah, no. A lot of the time, sometimes I'll take to
Okay.
Facebook and I'm like, have I used the name Pearl before? Have I used Pearl, guys? And somebody's like, yes, you have. And it was on book so and so. I'm like, crap. Okay, thanks.
Oh,
So
You have
wow.
your own encyclopedia out there, your
the
fans.
fans know more than I do, because it doesn't stay in here.
Yeah.
I'm rewriting when I'm working on another Ice Planet book. I have to go back and like reread everything
Mhm.
to get my brain back in that zone. But yeah, it all disappears the moment the book
Yeah, I
is
mean,
published.
it's a lot. Sure.
Yeah, it is a lot.
It
Yeah.
is. It is.
Wow. Oh, how
Wow.
exciting. Well, thank you. You've been so amazing.
Yeah,
I
this
mean,
has been
I could be
amazing,
here for
Ruby.
hours
Thank you for letting
listening
me
to you.
ramble.
Oh, no.
No.
I do ramble.
It was a wealth of information, and we
Oh,
really appreciate you being our guest today on Books and Martinis. Let's do a final cheers for you.
Yes. Oh my goodness. To everything that's ahead.
Cheers to Ruby
Yes.
Dixon,
Yes, Ruby. To
to your
everything that.
success.
Yes, and to what's coming in 2027 and 2026.
Yes.
Cheers to all of it. It's got to be great
More
stuff.
books, more books, more fun.
More books and more fun.
Yes, more stories.
Yep. Yep. Thank you for being our guest today. You guys check her out online. You can find her everywhere. Just Google her name, Ruby Dixon.
Yes, her name is everywhere.
Everywhere. Check out her books. And make sure you tune in for the next episode. Thank you for listening to Books and Martinis. Like, share, follow, subscribe.
Absolutely.
See you
Bye,
next time.
everybody.
Bye.